It's Wednesday, May 14th. She's the star witness, and she's got receipts. We start here. Sean Diddy Combs faces searing testimony from a key accuser.
If she refused, she said Sean Combs would be violent.
This could have been one of the biggest days of this trial, and our team was in the room for all of it. Life without parole no longer applies to the Menendez brothers.
Today is a great day after 35 years.
Why a judge stood by his ruling even after the prosecutor's office changed its mind. And President Trump outlines a new vision for Syria.
In order to give them a chance at greatness.
How his relationship with Middle Eastern royals is impacting policy. From ABC News, this is Start Here. I'm Brad Milkey. One of the lessons of the Me Too era has been that sexual predators are just that, predators. In many cases, it's not just one victim. In many cases, these victims have been pressured in ways large and small to stay quiet. And the more of these cases we saw over the last several years, the more we learned that rich and powerful men were capable of keeping these secrets secret for years. The case of Sean Diddy Combs revolves around claims of sexual abuse, but those claims also go a step further. Federal prosecutors say the hip-hop mogul used his vast resources to treat that abuse like entertainment for himself and for others, and that he employed a network of cronies to keep the abuse going. Combs has pleaded not guilty, but this week, a jury was selected, lawyers made their opening statements, and yesterday, with the eyes of the world squarely on this federal courtroom in Lower Manhattan, we heard the most dramatic testimony so far. A warning to our listeners, there are graphic descriptions here, but let's go to ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky, who was in court. He joins us from outside the courthouse right now. Aaron, this was day 2 of the trial yesterday. Can you just walk us through, what's been happening the last 48 hours, starting with the opening statements?
Brad, every celebrity has an entourage, right? Federal prosecutors told the jury right from the start that Sean Combs and the people around him operated as a criminal enterprise. They're treating Combs and his entourage like they might treat a mob family.
As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity.
They said that Combs committed crime after crime for 20 years, and that included kidnapping and arson, all sorts of acts of violence. But the primary goal of the so-called criminal enterprise, federal prosecutors say, was coercing women into these marathon sex performances with male prostitutes that were known as freak-offs. And Cassie Ventura, who was a fixture at Sean Combs' side for more than a decade, testified as probably the star witness in this case that she was forced to participate in these freak-offs starting when she was 22 years old, and as she put it, too naive to know what was going on. But she ended up humiliated, she ended up feeling degraded, objectified, and if she refused, she said Sean Combs got violent with her.
Well, then that's the thing, is Cassie Ventura, a lot of the world just knows her as Cassie, the recording artist, but this really did seem like the most visceral testimony that prosecutors plan to offer here. I mean, how detailed did she get?
Brad, her testimony was raw, it was emotional, much of it is too graphic for us to even discuss, and it was probably a little too disgusting for some of the jurors who even appeared to wince as she was talking about what went on in these sexual marathons with male prostitutes. She said she met Sean Combs when she was 19. He signed her to a long-term recording contract with Bad Boy Records, and that enabled him, she said, to take control of her financially, her career, her money. He paid her rent in multiple places, multiple apartments. And at one point when she was 22 years old, he proposed what he first described as voyeurism, where he wanted her to have sex with other men while he watched. Mm-hmm. And that's what Cassie Ventura said ended up going on almost weekly, to the point where it became like a full-time job, and it stifled her music career. And at first, she said she was a willing participant because she wanted to make him happy. But then she was reluctant, but it didn't matter. She was in too deep. If she refused, she said Sean Combs would be violent.
And, the defenses from the Combs team has been like this was all consensual. When things got wild, it was sort of spur of the moment, whatever. How did she describe Combs' involvement and, I guess, organization of it all? Because that does seem like a key part of a racketeering charge.
It is a key part. This was not just a bunch of sex that was recorded for blackmail purposes, although prosecutors say that was part of it. But the way that Cassie Ventura described it, Sean Combs orchestrated everything. These were highly produced. He picked the lighting. He picked the supplies, Johnson's baby oil, Astroglide lubricant. His staff members and his security guards supplied drugs and made sure the hotel rooms had all the supplies that were needed. And she took drugs that she said Combs supplied beforehand because she said she couldn't imagine not having a buffer to have sex with men she didn't want to be having sex with. And it took her days to recover from some of these things. But she described Combs as helping choose the escorts, paying the money, controlling every aspect of these freak-offs.
What happens next? I guess, what are defense cross-examinations going to look like, both in this and in other parts of this trial?
It's going to be brutal, Brad. You can imagine the defense insisting that Cassie Ventura willingly participated in all this because they've called her a capable, strong, adult woman.
He didn't do these things. This was a 10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime.
Who had her own reasons to make what they called a free choice. And even though the defense conceded that Cassie and Combs had a toxic, even violent relationship, they said that's not sex trafficking. That's not racketeering.
Last question, Aaron. What's it like at the courthouse?
It's tense. Sean Combs comes in clearly happy to see his family, his mother, his children seated in the second row. He smiles at them.
The children are there for all of this, for all this testimony.
The children are there, but Brad, when it gets graphic, his daughters especially stand up and they walk out.
Okay.
And there have been things that no father would want their daughter to hear.
Right.
But much of his family that has come to court has stayed for all of it. Much of the jury is listening stoically, stone-faced, even when they find it, too much to bear. And Cassie Ventura and Sean Combs hadn't seen each other until now. It's more than 6 years since their breakup in 2018. Combs looked at her as she took the witness stand in a form-fitting brown dress. She did not appear to look at him.
Right, that dress made clear she is very pregnant now and under a very bright spotlight as that testimony continues today. Aaron Katursky, as always, will be in the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
Next up on Start Here, life without parole has become 50 years with parole. The decision overnight in the case of the Menendez brothers. After the break. This show is supported by Quince. You know when you order a new shirt online and it ends up being even more comfortable than you were hoping for? I love that feeling. And that's the kind of feeling you can expect with Quince. We actually have Quince shirts in our house right now that are like our nice, relaxing wear. Quince has stylish, well-made clothes you will actually want to wear, like organic cotton silk polos, European linen beach shorts, comfortable pants that work for everything from nice dinners to casual backyard barbecues. Plus, everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury pieces without the markups. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. Elevate your closet with Quince. Go to quince.com/start for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/start to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/start. This show is sponsored by ZipRecruiter. When you need to hire someone, you need them now. And every hour you spend on the tedious logistics of scheduling interviews is another hour without the perfect person in the role. Luckily, ZipRecruiter makes hiring as fast and easy as speed dating. With Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter, you can post your job today and start talking to qualified candidates tomorrow. Right now, you can try Zip Intro for free at ZipRecruiter.com/start here. All you need to do is post your job job and plug in your availability for interviews. I wish I could do that for my interviews. Zip Intro will automatically help identify qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to, and Zip Intro will set up back-to-back video calls for as soon as the next day. Enjoy the benefits of speed hiring with new Zip Intro only from ZipRecruiter, rated #1 hiring site based on G2. Try Zip Intro for free at ziprecruiter.com/starthere. Again, that's ziprecruiter.com/starthere. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Now, the Diddy trial was not the only big trial playing out yesterday. In France, Kim Kardashian testified about a 2016 robbery in Paris that she said profoundly altered her life. In California, the Menendez brothers, who had been imprisoned for killing their parents back in 1989, they were appearing before a judge. They weren't disputing whether they did it, but they were contesting their sentence of life without parole. Well, last night, in a dramatic scene in Los Angeles, a judge ruled in their favor. ABC's Alex Stone is based in LA. He was in the courthouse for this. Alex, can you walk me through this? What happened here?
This was dramatic. It was hours of family members getting up on the witness stand, many of them quite emotional, very nervous. This is what they had been waiting for many, many years, and that they did not have the chance until now. A relatively new resentencing law in California that gave the brothers the opportunity to go before a court and say, we have been so rehabilitated in prison that we deserve a chance at freedom. And the judge listened to these family members, along with a former judge who has worked with the Menendez brothers, and he said he was blown away by the incredible men that they have become. And a fellow former inmate who was a fellow inmate who is a rapper who says that in prison, they turned his life around to where he was able to get out and that he was able to live a life and have children, and he was quite emotional as well. But many of the family members, when they got up, they said that these are remarkable men. One of their cousins saying they are wonderful human beings. She shed tears while she was up there. Many of the family members did. But Brad, we thought this hearing was going to go for a couple of days. It went for one day. Their attorney called fewer witnesses than we were expecting. And then all of a sudden, Mark Garagos, our attorney, said, I have no more witnesses, Your Honor. And then it went very quick from there, where the judge said, let's resentence them, and then gave the brothers a chance to talk to the judge.
What did they say?
When they were given the chance to speak, they had prepared statements ready to go, and Lyle Menendez told the judge, I killed my mom and dad. I give no excuses. And that's important because the district attorney here has said that they've never really come clean on this and that they've lied over many years. They admitted in their statements that they had lied over many years, but they said over and over again that it was their choice to point a gun at their mom and dad. And they got quite graphic about putting the gun to their heads. And they admitted to committing perjury by lying in court and getting others to lie during the trial so many years ago. They said, I don't blame my parents. Lyle did. He said, I was 21 years old and I thought I could fix what I could not fix. And he said he felt shame before the murders, hid from everybody, but said he has since built strong, healthy relationships in prison, and both of them apologized to their family for years of lies and the shock and grief that came with the crimes. Eric said, I committed an atrocious act. He said my actions were criminal, selfish, and cowardly. He said there is no excuse, no justification for what I did. And then the judge immediately handed down the sentence, and the brothers sat stone-faced, the judge saying, I have thought long and hard about this, that I've given it a lot of thought. And he said under the laws of California, he had to resentence them. But he also said, Brad, while he feels like that it's pretty incredible what the brothers have done in prison and all the good that they have done, that it was a terrible crime, that what they did, murdering their parents, murdering their mom who sat watching TV after shooting their dad, they went back and made sure she was dead and shot her again, that he said that I cannot excuse. So not bringing it down to manslaughter, but saying instead 50 years to life.
The fact is, the Menendez brothers have done remarkable work, and today is a great day after 35 years.
And so then the attorneys came outside, and Mark Garagos, their attorney, they were celebrating this as a victory of what they've been fighting for.
Wow. So stunning here that the judge is essentially saying, yeah, we're going to resentence you. It's no longer life without parole. It's not the lowest it can be, but you've certainly seen 50-year sentences turn into, you can get out of prison earlier after maybe 30 years with good behavior. That's kind of where they are at now. But this was confusing because they were pursuing a few different paths to getting out. One of them was this resentencing thing. One of them was clemency, perhaps from the governor's office. They were kind of pleading their case publicly. And then even with the resentencing thing, you had the district attorney's office kind of going back and forth. An old district attorney said, we think they should get out. The new district attorney was saying, we don't think they should get out. And they actually said they could be a moderate risk to people outside of prison. How did the judge weigh all that?
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk about this in the hearing because prosecutors wanted the judge to really bring it into account, saying, yeah, but they are a moderate risk to the community. And the judge said, because they had illegal cell phones mainly in prison, that's what the parole board has found. And he kind of said, look, every inmate in prison has an illegal cell phone. We're not talking about a gang leader, somebody who was running a prison gang.
It doesn't mean you're dangerous necessarily outside.
Yeah, or a murder in prison, that sort of thing. Now, they went back years, prosecutors did, and the report did to find them a moderate risk of some drug trading that went on years ago. And Eric allegedly helped other inmates with tax fraud, according to prosecutors, years ago. All of that comes into the risk report. But the judge said he was going to look at that. But that wasn't done for the court. That was done for the governor in his clemency decision. So it really wasn't even meant to be brought into court. And the judge said, I understand it, but you're not saying that they were violent or they've done anything violent. And he just kind of put it to the side.
And like you said, this is going to play out in the parole system now. But the fact that it's getting to the parole system says a lot about where sort of the nation and at least California have come in terms of who should get life without parole. What does that really mean? And can you undo that even after someone's been sentenced to it? Alex Stone, who is in court for all this, thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks, Brad.
President Trump flew into the Middle East on Monday for his first foreign trip of his term. But yesterday morning in Saudi Arabia, it started in earnest.
As you know, we have the biggest business leaders in the world here today. They're going to walk away with a lot of checks.
And while we talked yesterday about how central the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is to so many countries in the region, that is not the only issue on the table here. And President Trump made some news on several fronts. ABC's White House correspondent Karen Travers is in Saudi Arabia right now. She's traveling with the president on this trip. Karen, there was this busy day yesterday, several events outlining the president's vision for the Middle East. What were the big takeaways here?
I think the big headline was the surprise announcement he made related to Syria. The president said yesterday that he hoped the new government in Syria would succeed in stabilizing the country and keep the peace there.
That's what we want to see in Syria. They've had their share of travesty, war, killing.
Remember, of course, back in December, Bashar al-Assad, the longtime president, was overthrown. His regime was taken down. And the current president, he was a big leader of that movement.
The Islamist leader of the main rebel group, Abu Muhammad al-Golani, saying, "This victory, my brothers, is a new chapter in the history of the entire Islamic nation."
Since then, the Trump administration hasn't formally recognized the new Syrian government. The Biden administration sort of punted on that at the end as they were leaving office, saying, the Trump administration's coming in. We're going to leave that up to them to decide as a foreign policy matter.
That's why my administration has already taken the first steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade.
But it was a two-part announcement from the president.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
Sanctions have been in place for decades. They've been really crippling for Syria's economy. And there's a lot of concern here in the region that the country will not have a chance to rebuild so long as these sanctions stay in place. And so the president was actually pressured on this by Turkey's President Erdogan and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. And President Trump acknowledged that yesterday, that he heard it from them. It was at their urging.
Oh, what I do for the Crown Prince.
The president today is actually going to be meeting with the new Syrian president here in Riyadh. This was not something that was originally on the president's agenda. The White House announced yesterday that they were adding this. They're downplaying it. They're saying that this was a chance for them to say hello to each other. But Brad, this would be the first time a U.S. president has met a Syrian leader since 2000. So 25 years It's been. So it's significant, even if it is just a quick hello.
And you mentioned the Mohammed bin Salman thing. I mean, what was the reaction in the region to this announcement from the president? And what is the relationship like between him and these Arab world leaders? I mean, he was just heaping praise on the Crown Prince yesterday.
The gentleman that's right before me, he's your greatest representative.
It's like everything has been forgotten of the last couple of years. You know, the fact that the Crown Prince approved the assassination of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, that the concerns about human rights issues in Saudi Arabia. I mean, President Biden at one point labeled Saudi Arabia a pariah. And remember, Biden, there was a lot of heat that he took when he gave that fist pump to the Crown Prince a couple of years ago.
And if I didn't like him, I'd get out of here so fast. You know that, don't you? He knows me well. I do. I like him a lot. I like him too much. That's why we give so much, Too much. I like you too much.
I mean, there was just such a personal touch to the things he was talking about. Now, here's an important part of that, Brad. The Crown Prince promised him right after he was elected and then took office in January that the Saudis are going to invest $600 billion in the United States. The president says he wants to get that to $1 trillion. So it's maybe not hard to have a very warm affection for somebody that is promising investment like that. $600 billion, $142 billion of that would be an arms sales agreement between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia.
Nobody makes military equipment like us. We have the best military equipment, the best missiles, the best rockets, the best everything.
But that was the big focus for the president. It wasn't about, security in the region or diplomacy in the region. It's about business and trying to set up economic opportunities between these wealthy Gulf countries and the United States, and American companies being able to come here and set up shop.
Well, and what's interesting, Karen, is that $600 billion, that's for the country of the United States of America, right? We've also been hearing, though, about reporting for a plane from the Qataris that sounds almost like it would be conceivably more geared for the personal use of President Trump, his Air Force One when he's in office, and then maybe even also after he leaves office, maybe for his foundation. Does the personal wealth thing play into how he's approaching the Middle East? Is that a part of this or no?
The White House will say absolutely not, that the president stepped away from his business. He is not making anything off of this, that he is just here to promote the United States and American business. But it's really hard not to see this blurring of the president's efforts here on economic cooperation and what that might mean for his family's personal financial interests. He was greeted at the airport yesterday by the head of the Saudi Wealth Fund. That has invested $2 billion in his son-in-law Jared Kushner's business. The Live Golf Tour is also invested in by the Saudi Wealth Fund. They've hosted multiple golf events at Trump's properties, his golf courses. His sons, Eric and Don Jr., who now run the Trump Organization, have been in the region recently. They're talking about real estate deals in all of the countries that he's visiting this week. A golf resort in Doha. There's going to be another Trump Tower in Abu Dhabi. I mean, this is significant, and it's hard not to look at the trip itinerary and the themes he's talking about and not see that other side of it too, and what his family is doing here, also creating economic opportunities.
All right, and the president in Qatar today, which means Karen Travers will be in Qatar today as well. Karen, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, one more quick break. When we come back, take them back to the ball game. One last thing is next.
Yeah, the NBA playoffs are here, and it's about to be ridiculous, unbelievable, unfair, downright nasty, straight up, can't miss, don't blink, grab your popcorn and strap in cinema. This isn't about who's next. This is about who's now. This time is different. The NBA playoffs, presented by Google. Continue on ESPN and ABC.
And one last thing. Last year, I went to the Baseball Hall of Fame for the very first time in Cooperstown, New York. For all intents and purposes, it's a museum, but I gotta tell you, baseball fans treat that place like a sanctuary, a shrine. One of the reasons is that it memorializes entire generations. Like standing there looking at old memorabilia, you can draw this line from you to your parents to your grandparents, all connected through our heroes. But some of baseball's biggest stars aren't there. They've been banned. Well, yesterday, all at once, that changed.
Big news in baseball. Commissioner Rob Manfred has removed Pete Rose from the permanently ineligible list.
In a sweeping decision, Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred wrote in a letter that several players will be taken off of baseball's notorious ineligible list, including Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson. And to understand how big of a deal this is, you have to understand how good these guys were and why they were banned in the first place. Back in 1919, shoeless Joe Jackson was a national icon, the best player on the best team in the league, the Chicago White Sox. Then, the players conspired with gamblers to fix the World Series. They lost on purpose. And shoeless Joe, despite being acquitted by a jury, despite having an incredible series himself, became the face of this Black Sox scandal. This was memorialized in movies, from 8 Men Out.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
To Field of Dreams.
Getting thrown out of baseball was like having part of me amputated.
And for as legendary as Shoeless Joe was, Pete Rose was perhaps even more beloved.
Rose swings. There it is! There it is! Get out! Get out! All right! Hit number 4192.
Rose wasn't just a great hitter. He recorded more hits than anyone in the history of the major leagues. His record still stands. He was known as Charlie Hustle. Coaches preached his work ethic to little leaguers. Fathers told their sons, be more like Pete Rose. Well, then, in the 80s, Pete Rose was banned for the game's cardinal sin, betting on baseball.
He bet on baseball between 1985 and 1987, when Rose managed Cincinnati, including 52 times on his own team.
What's bizarre here is he only developed this habit after his playing days were over. He bet on games as a manager, and he says when he did bet on his own team, it was to win.
It's like I went through this bad phase of my life with the gambling, and that phase never resurfaced.
No one has come out ever definitively saying he fixed games, but to a league still scarred by the Black Sox, it didn't matter. All of this undermines the game. He had to go. And Rose didn't do himself any favors. At first, he lied about it.
And the only thing I can tell the fans is I did not bet on baseball. Got too much respect for the game.
And when he finally did admit it in 2004...
Did you bet on baseball?
Yes, I did, and that was my mistake, not coming clean a lot earlier.
He refused to lay low. While baseball considered his case, he would show up across the street from Hall of Fame ceremonies where he wasn't welcome, egging on fans who demanded baseball reinstate him. Rose died last year, which raised the question, was this supposed to be a lifetime ban or an eternal ban? Shoeless Joe has been dead for 70 years. When is it supposed to end?
Manfred ruled the MLB's punishment of banned individuals ends upon their deaths.
This seems to be Commissioner Rob Manfred's reasoning for reinstating them. Quote, a person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game, end quote. Now, this does not necessarily mean they will be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Once they're taken off this list, they still have to be voted in. But the real question in all of this is, who should be honored? And why do we honor them at all? Is it for the sake of the players themselves? Because if so, the window for these guys has long closed. Is it just to catalog their achievements for the stats? Well, if that's the case, few on the ballot will be more deserving than these players. You could sense the palpable excitement among Cincinnati Reds fans last night.
I was excited. Favorite player of baseball of all time.
He should never be on the ban list, in my personal opinion, in the first place.
I just wish it had happened 10 years ago, so he could have been here.
But then I think, are these honors actually for the rest of us? Is it really about legend making, articulating what we all want in our collective heroes? Because if that's the case, you got to imagine that in a sport that has seen segregation and steroids and is now promoting gambling by its own fans, these questions will linger as long as the records. fun fact, they were already called the Black Sox before the gambling scandal because their owner was apparently so cheap that he wouldn't pay to wash their uniforms very regularly. But for 40 years now, since Pete Rose, this has been one of the biggest controversies in sports, and just like that, it's over. Hey, don't forget, if you're enjoying the show, don't act like it's an illegal wager. Don't keep it a secret. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell Alexa. Shout out to our Amazon Echo listeners out there. I'm Brad Milkey. I'll see you tomorrow.
Say it ain't so, Joe.
The cultural phenomenon The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is back with an all-new season coming to Hulu May 15th.
Where is everyone at? Mom Talk has gotten to a really hostile point.
Demi's willing to kick Jesse out of the group.
I feel like I'm walking into a lion's den.
It's gonna get messy, for sure.
Mom Talk is turning on each other left and right.
The police are here.
I can't see this going any other way but a pure bloodbath.
This is so toxic.
The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives streaming on Hulu May 15th.